I'll quickly just say a few words. So Elena, I've known for a while. She's part of my product leader community, and she's amazing. She's a multi-time VP of product CPO at uh, really amazing companies like GoFundMe and Nextdoor and Brain Trust. Right now, she's, I guess, in a period of exploration because she's been speaking, she's been advising, she has a Maven course. She's also exploring full-time roles. And so in this period of like exploration, I know she had reached out to me about some speaking opportunities. And I was like, well, first you should totally speak to our Sidebar community. We would love to hear from you. And she shared with me a bunch of different talks that she's developed over the last couple of years. And this one I picked because I felt like it was just so relevant for all of us. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Elena. So super excited to hear all of your lessons on how we can better leverage AI for improving our communication skills, especially executive level communications. It's a skill that all of us need. So thank you so much, Elena, for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for that introduction, Ha. And I'm so glad we got to work together and put this talk together for all of you. And you can find me after this in several medium. So one, a course that I'm teaching called Executive Skills for PMs. So some of you mentioned executive communication is one of those hard skills that every PM needs. I also write about this topic on my Substack, and if you just want to DM me and go deeper on some of these topics, my email is right there. A little bit about my course. So I teach business skills for PMs. There's two cohorts starting in July 28th and the next one September 23rd. And we cover four different topics: go-to-market strategy, financial acumen, executive presence, and influence. My hypothesis is in this world of AI where you can build anything, that discovery is what really matters. And so as PMs, as leaders, our ability to create great products, get them discovered, and also get buy-in from our executive stakeholders without working nights and weekends is what will help us advance. And so here's a couple of folks in past cohorts that have great reviews about it. So today, what I wanted to spend time on is four things. So first, tailoring your messaging to stakeholders using AI insights. Second, going through a framework called the Think, Feel, Do framework, and then figuring out how to apply that in an actual conversations. And then I will walk through a couple of tools that you can use to practice your messaging and also identify what your stakeholders care about and what they resonate with, what their personality types are, so you can better tailor your messaging. And then we'll do a group exercise so you can practice some of these things, and I'm not just talking at you. So without further ado, wanted to start with a framework. The framework is called the Think, Feel, and Do framework. Most speakers think about what they want to say, and why that doesn't resonate is because how people perceive information is around what do they want to hear. So this framework helps you ground it in first, think, what insights and framing or belief do you want your audience to walk away with? Who are they? How do they best consume information? What do you want them to feel? That might mean confidence in yourself. That might be some level of anxiety that if you don't get more resources, that this project won't succeed. And then what is the action besides absorbing the information you tell them, do you want them to do as a next step? And this framework became extremely clear to me when I was presenting to the board at Nextdoor, where my team was responsible for bringing local businesses into the Nextdoor marketplace. We had a great strategy, we had a roadmap, we had the resources to do it. What I needed the board to do was go with me and believe in me as the leader. The feedback from my CEO after the fact was, hey, you delivered the message. They understand what needs to be done, but you didn't come across confident enough. So they're not sure that you're the person to do this job. So even though the strategy was there, the framing was there, I didn't go into what I wanted my audience to feel. And so that put a tax on my credibility. So since then, I've been really working on myself and teaching these frameworks to others so that they can come across as confident when they present and get their audience to adopt what they're saying. So when we continue to think about audience intent and messaging, a lot of what we want our audience to know is about them. So starting with what do they care about? So some of you are looking for jobs. Some of you feel like you're not heard. So this is about getting you heard. What are some of those restraints? There's a level of what are the biases? Is there a level of urgency that they're constantly feeling? Where is that coming from? And how do we understand that? And so moving you from what most presenters do, which starts with what do I want to say? Hey, I wanted to say something and only 20% of that came across versus what does the audience need to hear? So as we go through some of this framing, what I wanted to share with you is an example of several examples of tools that you can use to do that. So first, how do you know who your audience is? So one such tool is a tool called Crystal Knows, and I'll share some of these tools with you, where you can use it to dive into the profiles of the people you're speaking to. So here's my personality. My personality is a driver. I like to speak directly, make decisions quickly, move forward. So what I do really well with is taking initiatives forward. What I do really poorly at is that planning, that talking about things, that rumination, that is craved in bigger companies or different types of personalities. So that means by understanding myself, I can use this framework to understand others. So if I wanted to learn about other people, what I can do is two things. A, my coworkers. So for the people who are new to a company, who are my coworkers? How do I get more insights into their personalities? Who's on my team? So you can use this tool to upload their profiles and figure out who else is on your team. The other opportunity for things like talking to your board, you can go ahead and add profiles from places like LinkedIn, and you can better understand who you're speaking to and what their personalities are. So you can better position your messaging to that personality type. The second tool that's really useful for practicing your executive communication is a tool called Udly. And the reason I like it is because all of us have various strainers around our communication. So here's a few, and hopefully you can see my screen. Some of those are vocal habits, something like ending your sentence with a question, or maybe it's trailing off. There's plenty of drainers, whether it's vocal habits, nonverbal cues, messaging mistakes, mindset traps, and these are all things I will share with you afterwards. And a tool like Udly is an AI tool that helps you do a couple of things. So first, what you do is go into it and you record yourself. So here I am giving, a 46-second description of this talk to you. And what Udly helps me do is a couple of things. First, it picks up on my strengths. So my strengths are enthusiasm, clear purpose of why I'm here, why I'm talking to you. But my growth areas are in the description, I was extremely vague and unstructured in the ask. So that lost the message or lost the details of the message and made me appear less credible. The other things that it can help you do is things like follow-up questions. So if you're presenting to a group of people and you're practicing your presentation, it picks up on potential questions that the audience member would ask you. So when you get into those hard conversations, when you get that unexpected answer, you're a bit prepared and you can practice with it. And then it scores you on various things like tone, visual presence, consciousness, etc. So this is a fun one to try and just get your assessment, get aware of how you come across and then practice with Udly further. You can add an additional recording or do the cringe thing of using Loom and recording yourself, sharing with your sidebar group, sharing with a friend, sharing with a coach, so a person can help you go through and practice some of the drainers that we all have. So they at least become different and you come across as more confident in those conversations. Another example I wanted to show you is ChatGPT. A lot of us leverage it for work as our sidekick. The way you can use it for preparing for your quarterly business reviews, preparing for your board conversations, or just a general meeting is a couple of things. So first, you can use it to help you review the presentations that you are putting together or the talk track and have some of those prompts to go through it. And I'm happy to share those prompts. So in this example, what I'm doing is simulating presenting a quarterly business review to an executive audience. Um, let's say my executive audience has the CEO, CFO, CPTO, CMO, CLO, so all our C-suite folks. And what I can do is drop a presentation I put together. So this is a synthetic one, but you can think about something like this for your quarterly business review. And what I can do is just drop that into my my prompt. So for the person interviewing, what you can do is practice some of the cases or some of the questions you have in a similar way, um, and ask it to give you feedback. So the questions that I have is in my presentation, what comes across? What will they think, feel, do after they hear this presentation using the framework we just learned? What are the questions I should anticipate? And how can I improve it? And so you can use Claude, you can do ChatGPT, you can use the ones that work for you and quickly get insights into what comes across. So what comes across? We had a strong quarter, there's product improvements, there's customer success is driving results. What does it think execs will think, feel, do? Think that we're performing well, feel confident in the product, and then here's some of the opportunities that this different C-suite folks would think. And how do you get this beyond generic, versions of what ChatGPT thinks your CFO would think? Is you can add some of the crystal profile data. You can add some of the past recordings that you've had of your interactions into a GPT project. So you can have this kind of like exec review, board review, whatever you need to do, team review in that project and constantly run what you're putting out there through your synthetic versions of the real thing. What are some of the anticipated questions? Strategy. What's the best, what are the bets we're making with AI and how does it differentiate us? CFO. What's the impact of pricing and packaging on ARR? The other thing you can do here is as you get these anticipated questions, you can then practice with it, practice answering them. So let's you can put the next prompt in. Okay, like here's the question I'm getting from my CEO. Here's how I would answer it. Give me feedback on how I answer it and continue to practice. And so this sets the foundation for what you can do next. So to practice for the meeting, to improve your how you present, to improve your presentation. And a really important part after the meeting happened, leverage it again to do a retro of, hey, I practiced all these things. This is what happened. This is the feedback I got. This is how it felt to me. These are the questions I had. So you can continue to refine your co-pilot system in ChatGPT or Claude to get you progressively better in how effective you are at the company that you're in. So I think is there a couple of questions? Will you share these specific ChatGPT prompts? Yes, Jonathan, I will. I don't know if I have everybody's email, but I will share them with the Sidebar community or just DM me. You have my email and I would be happy to share those with you. Here it is. Question, I have found ChatGPT to be too charitable in its assessment of mine and others' presentations. Is there a way to make it less easy to please? Oh, Jonathan, hot take, hot take. Oh, I found using both ChatGPT and Claude works for things like this. You can have kind of like a roast me mode in Claude much better. It's designed to be more of a companion rather than somebody that says like, woohoo, Jonathan, you're great at everything you do. So you can add that level of prompting into it of, my career depends on it. I want you to tell me the truth, and a couple of other adjectives that help you get more of that um, direct feedback. All right, Steve, why not address the anticipated question content into a revised version of your presentation? Um, Stephen, I think that depends. You could, but every executive likes a bike shed moment. So if you create a bike shed and let them co-create with you, that tends to go a long way versus them coming into a meeting and you having all the answers, because then they feel less in the process. So it's in my experience, it's better to have it in the back of your head than have all the answers and have no way for them to participate. What is a bike shed moment? Yes, Meg. So a bike shed moment is a term that's used in product delivery or strategy presentations, that you lay out your strategy. For example, I'm planning to build a house, and then you put a bike shed next to the house, and it's or duck or whatever you want. And because there's a level of co-creation and that people who want to give you opinion want to have, you put a bike shed in so they have something to talk about. So if your audience doesn't necessarily have an opinion on the LLM or the strategically difficult thing, or they fully agree with you, they have something that they can zero in on and provide feedback on. All right, I
And
think I got all the questions.
feel free to come off mute too if it's just
Yeah,
easy to ask live.
Yes, so this is Kim. Hi, I have a question regarding the profiles in Crystal.
yeah.
Are you asking your teammates to complete the profile, or is it all integration from LinkedIn profiles?
So for teammates, I've asked them to fill in the profiles. It would be more of a team bonding activity we would do to help each other work better together. I've done that with my executive team as well. And then for people you don't know, who can't necessarily ask, LinkedIn is pretty good as a starting point.
Gotcha.
And then you can augment it with things like deep research if you really want to, if it's a really high stakes conversation, to pull in any information about that person, what that person cares about, to augment how you talk to them. Like, just don't cross that line of super creepy and talk about their daughter and their dog if it's the first time
I
you've
just
met.
wonder, I have a perhaps ethical question that may not be easy to answer right now. I've been hearing stories of people creating projects, taking their boss or taking certain stakeholders' emails that they've exchanged over a period of time and creating these art avatars of these individuals. And they communicate with them in order to they create these avatars of, let's say, their boss, they communicate with them and create emails and communication to help them better communicate with their boss. And it's interesting because it's like they're creating this fake version of their boss in order to learn how to better communicate with them in real life, but it's
Yes.
creating this like echo chamber of their boss talking to themselves.
Yes, I've heard that, and I've some of the things that have worked for me is more putting together a GPT project where content or context for our team lives, which then helps the product, the R&D teams, and the go-to-market teams work off the same context. The other things that have worked for me is I'm a person that constantly asks 4 questions of my team, which is, what is it? Why does it matter? When do I get it? And how much does it cost me? So my team has this prompt for themselves, so I don't I can bring value to the team in different ways. So, but with everything in life, don't go overboard, and see what works for you. And I mean, the objective of this is to experiment and really open you up to testing and seeing that there are tools that can help you deal with the mundane and just be smarter and more confident in the conversations that you have. Yeah, so Guadalupe seems like she does that with her CEO. So be curious to see how that works.
Elena, I had a tip that worked pretty good recently for this comment on how do you make ChatGPT less charitable. I actually started, and I ran this as an experiment where I gave a presentation and it same prompt that you had of like, how does this come off? But when I started with, I want you to review this presentation, but started with treating ChatGPT more like a team member of what questions do you have for me before you answer my question?
Yes.
And, it was great. It came up with a series of questions because, things like, how do you want to come off, right? Like, do you want to come off assertive? Do you want to come off, it gets into like more specifics. And then that way, when you get the answer back, it's more tailored to specifics than this general, it might come off like this, or, you might want to think about this. And it's just more critical to your goal. So I just wanted to share that. It's a little bit more work because there's 5, 6, sometimes 10 questions it comes up with, but I felt the output is usually it's less me massaging the answers to get it to what I wanted to say. So just wanted to share that.
Yeah, no, that's a really great prompt, Kruti, and it works. I think as you get more information, like you're still the human in the loop, so don't take the answers at face value. But what it helps you is go from zero and blank state and that insecurity of what will people think about me to, hey, I put something together, give me feedback, and then based on the context you have of the company, what is true, what isn't true, based on the context of what you know about the people. Can you provide that additional context so it can be a better sounding board for you? So it's not you constantly, going to your partner or your teammate being like, how does this feel? But you're putting your most knowledgeable foot out there. Great questions, great discussion. I wanted to switch gears a little bit and get you all to just practice this. So I think some folks are used to these conversations, others less so. So hopefully we can help each other. So where I wanted to take us is to a group exercise, and Hai is going to help me split folks into groups. But here is the group exercise doc, and we have about 20 minutes to do that. And let me quickly share my screen. Hopefully no one's getting nauseous from me switching screens, but I've got presentations, prompts, and the works here. So the ask is, the exercise is a boardroom pressure test. So pick a scenario that works for you. You'll be split into groups of 4 to 6. Introduce yourself, catch up, and then spend the first 5 minutes picking a scenario. I have 4, but if there's something you're dealing with at work and you convince the other 3 to go with it, go for it. And then use your tool of choice, whether that's ChatGPT, Claude, another one, to craft your message in 10 minutes. So you already have the access to the Think, Feel, Do framework. Tailored to 2 board stakeholders, let's say a CEO and a CFO, and anticipate 1 tough questions they might ask. And then spend the last 5 minutes presenting back to your group. How did it resonate, and getting feedback from each other on what resonated, what didn't, what needed to be done. Awesome. Well, we have about 10 minutes left, so I wanted to use the remaining time. Well, Hai's gonna share a survey just to see how it went, but also wanted to ask one of the groups to present their prompt to the CEO and the CFO, and what would you say about your project? Do I have to randomly pick someone?
I could go for our group.
All right, Victor, winning.
All right. So we chose to expand to a new customer segment. And we
Cool.
focused in on the CEO and the CPO, particularly the chief people officer. So just a little bit difference there in terms of who we're going after. We wanted them to think that this is the best capital allocation for their growth, and that missing out on an opportunity right now was urgency we wanted them to feel, and ultimately approve the strategy and allocation of the capital. And so here is the presentation. We basically ended up asking ChatGPT because we ran out of time to put it together ourselves. And here's what it gave us. Good morning. Thank you for your time, everyone. We're here today to unlock a significant growth opportunity that aligns directly with our mission and leverages our existing strength by expanding into a new customer segment that's already asking for our product. This isn't about building something new from scratch. It's about scaling what already works. Early signals are showing demand, higher margins, and stronger retention, but the window is now. We're asking for approval to move fast, smart, and focus. This is the kind of decision that defines category leaders, and we don't want to look back and realize we missed it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, what do we think, team? Should we invest? Very cool. Any feedback? Anything felt good, weird? Jeremy.
I was just clapping to say good job, but I was gonna say maybe like a tangible, like how much are you investing? What's the return? Like a result
Yeah, some more
statement.
details. Yeah, makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. How about you, Julia? Julia's hoping there's another Julia.
Julia and I were on the same team, so Julia, I can share what we went through. I chose I always have to ground myself in a real example. So I chose, I said, Julia, let's work on an alternative payment feature that I had to turn off for an e-commerce company I worked for. And I chose the hardest one because this was the CEO's idea. And although we had done a lot of upfront investigation and showed that this wasn't quite right for this company and it wasn't going to accomplish the goals. It was one of those like, well, let's just try it. And so um, the way that we thought through this is, the do is clear is that going into this stuff, coming out of this discussion, it's a green light from the CEO and the CFO to, yes, sunset this right now. And I always start with a clear why for myself. And those 3 points were clear. It's taking up space and cluttering checkout. It's costing us money because even though no one's using it, engineering still has to spend time on maintaining it, even if something breaks or we're moving the tech stack. And then third, it's not achieving any business outcomes, right? Nobody's using it. So I like to anchor this. I love this think, feel, and do because it makes it clear on what are the points you have to make to get them to do that thing and feel that way and think that way. And the CEO is usually more emotional and CFO is more data driven. And, in a quick update, I also always think about if it's a 30-minute meeting, I have max 2 points I can make, right? So what are those 2 points anchored on this think, feel, and do? And so in this case, it was, point number 1 would be around showing the data, right? So can't argue the usage and how much time we're spending on it and, that it's costing us this much to maintain it. And point 2 would be around the emotion of, hey, it's a cleaner UX, not cluttered. And then less about, the emotional aspect of this was the CEO's idea. And so don't bring that back up, right? But we're sunset. We're not just saying no, we're saying no because it makes room for and come with other options of, other alternative payments that are more trendier, more suited for this customer base. And, don't give them a reason to say no, like make everything a reason to say yes.
I like that. I like that. I think I'd add to that is because it is the CEO's idea, like some level of acknowledging that. So I think you're like, all right, let's put it in the box and forget about it. But deep inside, they probably are like, well, they don't want to lose face.
Yeah.
So a level of practicing with one of your chatbots that's going to potentially come up. So whether you want to bring it up or not,
Yeah.
knowing how to deal with it if it does.
Yeah. And so we didn't have time because then, we did this without using AI, right? Just our
Yeah.
own skills. And then I took that and I just put it in. So I have to still read what
Cool.
um
Cool.
what
What
it
it came back.
what it came back with.
Okay, this might be a good time before people start dropping. I'm just gonna throw up the QR code. Um, so everybody, you've been with us before, pretty easy. Just break out your camera, phone camera, and point it to the QR code. Please do share feedback, and all the feedback also goes to Elena. So she would love to hear what you liked about the presentation, what could have been improved. And then while folks are filling out the survey form, we could take a couple questions before we wrap up.
Sorry, I couldn't, my mouse wasn't working. I couldn't get to the unmute button, so.
No worries. Do you have a question, Julie, or anybody who has
Yeah, I just
questions?
wanted to, because I know you were calling on me and I was trying to find my mouse.
So I think we have time for a couple questions.
Okay, I'll have one, Elena. This is Gary Moore. Could
Gary.
you, as your stakeholder, could you define that as a group, like a customer group or a segment where you could kind of perhaps in the project, define the parameters and the characteristics and the general feeling of that group of customers, and then how do I pitch to them my product or a new system or something like that instead of an individual?
That's a good question. You can. I think the more synthetic it is, the more generic the feedback will be. So where you have real characteristics or you have recordings from past conversations with this group to train it on and put in your project, the more effective it'll be in the feedbacks because it'll get more context. So think about someone who just joined your team. If they don't know what your culture is, how Gary operates, how the company operates, they will come with their context and their background. And so they're going to make some of those mistakes. GPT Claude will do the same unless you kind of course correct some of those context and assumptions for it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm glad we were able to help Kristen.
I feel like if I have a lack of questions, it's not because I didn't engage. It's just that because this presentation has been so superb. I'm really excited to go use the software to watch myself present. I think that's a game changer, and I'm so excited. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, it's scary, it's cringy. You don't want to do it,
It's so
but
good. When I do it,
it's so useful.
yeah.
You're like, I sound like that. Oh.
So Elena, what I'll do is if you can email me all the resources, if you're in Sidebar, there's already an event thread that's been set up. I'll share all the resources there. And then feel free to also share any links with me to your LinkedIn, to your Maven course. I'll just drop all of that.
Awesome.
And then also for folks who might have registered through the Luma, we can also drop that information there as well. So
yeah. Well, very nice getting to at least talk at many of you and talk with some of you, but I hope some part of it would be useful or applicational. And you know where to reach me, Elena Luneva. I think there's like a fashion person that with the same name, but that's not me. So the one that talks about product is me. I've got a Substack. I sent you my email. And yeah, hope to continue the conversation and see how, Jonathan, how your video goes and what you learn.
but thank you so much for spending the time with us.
Super.
Elena. It was really, really great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Appreciate you sharing your
Great
knowledge.
presentation.
Yay.
Excellent.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Stephen.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye, everyone.